When people told Reddit their past, their stories, explained themselves with Reddit stories, foretold the future. Not really. But foretold the future with Reddit stories. The best place by the monitor was kept for the Reddit teller. Welcome back to your cozy spot by the screen light. Today, I have some new tales to impart with some interesting outcomes. They say the devil went down to Georgia, and in the hot, muddy, musky landscape of Georgia, he ran into a fiddle player. Well, it seems like after he lost an... Oh, what was that? Yeah. Yeah, he lost. Yeah, to a 10-year-old, by the way. Go figure. Yeah. Well, after he lost, he decided to stay out and above hell and occasionally inspire others to be just as lame as he is. Introducing Am I the Devil? Starting off tonight's episode, we're going to jump right into a story that originally started off with, am I the butthole? But as I stated before, sometimes a select few are sponsored by the good old guy with the red horns and thrown into a special category of Am I the Devil? The story is titled My Pregnant Wife is Scarred and therefore less valuable because she defended me from a fatal attack. Please validate my need to cheat on her. No, that's not the actual story. You see, that was just a redaction. However, the original title was actually Struggling to Stay Faithful and Remain Attracted to My Wife After We Experienced a Violent Attack Together. Not sure what to do. The hint is that you shouldn't do what you're about to do. But let's go into it. I can't talk to anyone about this for obvious reasons. I even tried speaking to a therapist and they made me feel so low. I haven't gone back since. My wife and I have been together for 6 years, married for 3. We currently have a bundle of joy on the way, and she's about 5 months along. My wife was always on the fence about kids, but I was adamant about wanting them. And now that it's becoming so real, I'm not so sure anymore. I feel like I've just been on autopilot, and after spending this whole week buying baby stuff, I need to figure it out. Last year, my wife and I were at the park relaxing like we do almost every weekend, and someone yelled at us for speaking in my native language, which is Korean. My wife is trying to learn too, because she's not Korean or Asian at all, but she wants to only speak Korean at home to make sure our family is fully bilingual and they don't lose their culture. Well, we were practicing out loud and sharing a snack, and this guy just walks up out of nowhere with the wild, racist BS. He kicked our food and there was some arguing, and while I was calling the police with my back turned, he tried to hit me with a pretty large rock. My wife jumped in between and ended up taking the full force of the hit, which literally busted her forehead open and knocked her out cold for almost a minute. I rushed my wife to the hospital and the guy ran off and was eventually caught by the police a few weeks later. My wife needed 14 stitches right across her face and had 2 black eyes and blood in them. Her face was swollen beyond recognition for a few days too, and when she fell, messed up an old knee injury, so when she got out of the hospital the next day, Her face was covered in bandages and she was limping, but she was still cracking jokes in the ER. After the bandages and stitches came out, she was told that she would need to wait at least a year before having her scar surgically fixed or whatever treatments. But now that a year has almost passed, I've started hinting at her scheduling appointments and such. The entire time, I've been struggling and remaining attracted to her despite it, but I didn't tell her since I didn't want to be cruel. She's now saying she doesn't think that she wants to get anything done because she wants to save the money for the baby. I've offered to pay half of it, and she hasn't still really looked into anything getting done. I've also pushed back her meeting my parents again because of this. They live outside the country, hence why they haven't met yet, and bringing her around my friends, since it has. Another part of me is also just sort of mad she even did it. I feel like half a man now, and I've had to delete myself off dating apps before making a mistake and been channeling it all at the gym. But every time I look at her, I'm reminded of all of those feelings. She hasn't changed a bit besides the scar. She's obviously handled it way better than I did. And somehow it's making me love her less. This, plus the pregnancy, I don't even know what to do. I thought about asking for a hall pass, but I know without a doubt she'll leave me. I thought about taking care of my needs on the side so I can be the man she needs me to be. But I know she'll eventually find out and she'll hate me and make my life hell, or leave me a single father and I'll never hear from her again. I just wish it had never happened. But I really need some other perspectives or opinions on this. Ow. My head. It hurts. From all the insults swimming in my little brain. I have to agree with a comment that was just some kind of thing. Imagine being that badly repulsed by your partner because they got a scar defending you. You know what? I agree that I agree with OP. It should never have happened. She should have just stayed on the side, and that rock should have just gone right into the back of his head. It would have just been quick, right? Because back of the head, super weak. It's like when you say, "Look at the flowers, George." And he goes, "What? Look at the flower." And he turns around and he got shot by Lenny. Yeah, you remember that? You remember that book? Yeah, just like that. Except instead of that, just a rock right behind. Real quick, real painless. After trudging our way through the hellish, muggy, oh my God, it's so hot, Georgia landscape, following in the devil's tracks, I think I spot him right up ahead. But before we get closer, let me sit you back down for another tale. The story is titled, "Am I the Butthole?" For secretly eating takeout food my pregnant wife cannot eat because she has gestational diabetes. My wife, 34 female, and I, 34 male, have been married for 10 years, and we've been together for about 15. She's 7 months pregnant and has gestational diabetes, which has been really hard on her, and by extension, really hard on me too, and our relationship. Her doctor has strictly recommended she follows a strict diet, and that means no sugar or high-calorie foods such as Alfredo sauce or pizza and the likes. Naturally, she's been very, very upset because she has cravings, but there's no way she can indulge. She's gotten sick of the alternatives suggested to her and would start sobbing sometimes when we go outside because she'll see all these food places only to realize she can't eat anything that she wants. I feel for her. I really do. Our relationship started to break down a little when she started taking her anger out on me. My offense? Ordering the things I like to eat, such as cookies, cheese, frozen snacks. We get groceries delivered to us, by the way, just like any other person does. She was extremely mad at me for being able to enjoy these things and made me feel guilty about eating stuff that she craves. My breaking point was once she angry cried over the fact that I brought home a box of donuts I received from the office on my birthday. I was sick of her behavior and the constant policing of my food intake in our home that I, in no uncertain times, made it very clear that she cannot punish me for a health problem that she has. And that this is my house too. And I will eat and drink whatever and whenever I please. Well, we had a bad argument that day, and I uttered divorce. That seemed to shake us both, and we did a few sessions of marital counseling. To keep it short, our therapist held her accountable and shared that it was unfair on me to be at the receiving end of her emotional distress. However, she also emphasized that my wife is probably feeling unsupported too, and I could try to be a bit more discreet and stick to making healthier meals together, which would be great for both of us, since my wife cannot make up for excess blood sugar she has by working out a lot. She's chubby and has bad knees. I can see why she feels helpless. As a solution, we decided to stock up the forbidden foods in the second fridge we have in the drawing room of our home that we use to store drinks and guest snacks. It's better when reminders of the things she craves but can't eat are not in the same or common fridge. This also means I can almost never order takeout at home, and sometimes I miss doing that while watching Netflix. I still missed having the occasional pasta dish at the Cheesecake Factory or McDonald's, so sometimes when I drive home from work, I eat in my car, keeping the therapist's reminder triggers in mind, because I know that my wife, knowing that I ate that stuff, it'll just make her mad. Yesterday, though, I took my wife on a long drive and she found a receipt of the Cheesecake Factory on the floor. At the moment when she found it, she started sobbing and wouldn't talk to me. She's now pissed at me and feels like I have betrayed her. I think she's overreacting, and I don't think I'm wrong, since 80% of the meals I have in a week are with her. I try to have takeouts without her on Fridays mostly. I don't think I'm the butthole because it's not really fair, and I want to indulge in the food that I want to eat. Just because she has those triggers every time doesn't mean I have to abide. There is still resentment I have against her for ruining my birthday. Basically, the gift I got from my wife that day was her yelling at me and me uttering divorce and ending the night in tears. I still hate her for it, for creating a bad memory I likely won't be able to erase, but I'm working on it. I feel the same way too when I read what I wrote. I don't want to hate her, but I do. I still cry thinking about how we fought for something seemingly innocent. And I feel so wrong that no one sees that this was unfair and borderline abusive for me. To be at the receiving end of this as a spouse because I happen to be a husband in this dynamic. I'm not sure about therapy for this, but I grew up poor and food insecurity was a big part of my childhood. It makes me feel pretty crappy that now that I have a means to provide for myself, I still can't do what I want. But no one sees my trauma. And why would I want to be able to make my decisions too? You know, me as a human being. But even if I didn't have this trauma, I shouldn't need a reason to act with autonomy, as long as I am supportive of her and being considerate about her food issues, which I positively have acknowledged in therapy with her and am doing my part, even though I and our therapist agreed that her initial demands were ridiculous. I was made to feel like a horrible person for simply bringing a box of donuts my coworkers got for me on my birthday, when there was no malice involved, no bad intentions, no desire to rub it in her face, or whatever the rest of the world calls it. Honestly, I regretted being a married man that day and wished I never met her. I have never let anyone bring my self-esteem down in the way that my wife did. I have never given anyone else the power to hurt me like she did, and I want to take it away. No one has ever made me feel like a criminal for eating a donut and storing the rest in the fridge inside the house that I own too. I'm surprised he was able to speak and or type with all the food that was in his mouth. Going into the comments, I can definitely agree with a couple of these. One of them by Indecile. Are you the butthole for occasionally eating fast food away from the home that your wife doesn't know about? No, you're not. You're the butthole for literally every other thing that you wrote in this post. Like, what do you mean that you still hate her? And another one by PG-13, quoting the story, I still hate her for it. Lord, I hope you guys get divorced before you screw up that eventual kid's perception of what a relationship is supposed to look like. She has gestational diabetes. She has food restrictions. You contributed to. She didn't eat herself into the issue. It came with growing your child. And you're mad about it because you're watching you sacrifice nothing, and she got mad. If you can't go without Cheesecake Factory or McDonald's for a couple months, evaluate your own food issues. And I agree, 100%. See, with this, the whole point of this is you were adamant. You were the one who desperately wanted this relationship, this child. And it takes two to tango. And she's dealing with these issues. Now, I agree with that first comment. Occasionally going out, having maybe a good thing of Mickey D's, right? Out in the back seat of the car, whatever. You're not a butthole for that. I understand. You're a terrible person because you hate your wife. and you are rubbing it in her face. Because Goo Goo Gaga Baby Boy has to have a happy birthday. Thank you for joining me by the monitor. And to everyone listening and enjoying this content, please feel free to leave a like and subscribe to hear more of these stories stemming from tragic to comedic to downright horrific. And as always, see you in the next chapter.